dude, you're fine. I'm like, no, I hate this. I can't do it. I'm stuttering. I'm shaking. I have my stupid little script on the side. Like, I'm trying to read that. That took another hour to make. Like, I was petrified of making a video, of
Yeah.
talking to people. And then, through time, after watching your content, after watching you do a bunch of things, I started to learn and I started to dive in. I was like, okay, how does she do some of her stuff? Like, why is she so charismatic? I look at the reaction you get from the crowd. I was watching how you were using your hands, using your tonality, and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. I'm gonna mirror some of this, and I started using some of it in my videos. And despite being shaky and unconfident, I'm like, oh my god! Like people are like, dude, are you natural or something? I'm like, no, that took like 6 hours to make. You just don't know that. Like this whole concept took forever. Me interviewing someone, absolutely petrifying. It's my biggest fear.
Right.
And then
Right.
as time went on, I would ask you more questions. I'd dive in, and you didn't even know. You thought they were like basic questions. You're like, dude, go shoot this video. You're so good at this. I'm sitting there. I'm like, this
Yeah.
takes
That's so
this
funny.
takes hours, Tina. This takes hours to do this. And then when when we got to this opportunity where I had to speak in front of a couple hundred people online, I am literally sweating in the background. Thank God it was only my
Mm-hmm.
voice. I had my script, and because of your coaching, because of like our side conversations, our one-on-ones where you'd be like, okay, here's where you need to work on. You have this really unique ability to you can analyze a person really well. I've noticed about you, and this is a really cool trait you have. You can
Oh,
analyze whether they are analytical or emotional, and you are able to cater to them and approach them in a way where it's comfortable, but you can also push in a proper way. Because when I see some coaches, they absolutely destroy somebody, and they'll either kill the confidence and not know it and not how to coach properly. But you have this ability to either be like, okay, in this situation, we're going to be analytical. Here's where you can improve. But then you can also cater to the emotional side of the individual, which I have, but I don't show in some cases. But you were
right.
able to see through that and say, okay, you're doing great. Here's some words of affirmation. Go carry on. Go do this. Unless,
Yeah.
and I guess this is if you know the person well, you
Yeah.
turn on the Japanese strict side, and you're like, no, unacceptable. Redo it. I'm like,
Because I know
no.
you can do
E-
better.
exactly, right? Like that side is where most coaches, they don't care about their clients. But I saw that with
Uh-huh.
you. And this is before I
Yeah.
even did the coaching. You did that for me. So,
Right, right.
and then eventually I go speak on stage on Vegas in front of 100 people, and I'm comfortable. I'm like, easy Vegas. I'm on my flight there. Like I had one day to prep, and because of all your training, all the content you did for
Yeah.
me, I was able to go speak on stage confidently because of all the stuff you gave me throughout the year and a half I worked with you. So
That's so great.
again, right, like that's my story with you. But what have been some instances with people you've worked with?
Yeah. So it's funny how you mentioned that because so I was in acting when I was in my early 20s and I took this commercial workshop.
Hmm.
And with commercials, you talk directly into the camera, unlike scene study, but you talk directly into the camera. And I took this workshop. I took the beginner level and advanced level. So in total, 16 weeks. Okay. And I was by far the worst person in every single class, to the point where the teacher, you can see the disappointment in his face. Like he didn't want me to be there because I was so shameful for being in his class. I mean, that's how it felt like, because just, I mean, it really was that. and and so I would talk on camera. We did a lot of I cold reading or looking at scripts or even just talking directly to the camera and improving. And I was always the worst. And even his feedback was defeating, which was, I mean, it wasn't good coaching at all. It was almost like, you should give up.
Just get out of
That's
here.
how
You're done.
yeah, because he wasn't even giving me tools and tips to help me get better. He was just like, okay, well, try again next time. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was paying a lot of money. Anyway, so my confidence was very low because of that. And then I did some YouTube videos, and it's funny because this is in Los Angeles, and this obviously room full of actors and seasoned actors. And so once I did a YouTube video once, it was one video on just something totally irrelevant. And I gave it to my mastermind group at the time, which is just a group of people who support each other. And I said, okay, there's this video. I know I don't look great on camera. I know I'm kind of looking nervous. I'm just nitpicking. And then to my surprise, everybody's like, you seem fine. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I am horrible. I know it. You don't have to sugarcoat it. I can take criticism. I can take
Give me
feedback.
the
I
damn
can redo it.
truth.
Right, right. Because I knew I wasn't good. And it's not like they were saying I was the best. I got better over the years.
Mhm.
But that being said, I was my own worst critic. And also, I was comparing myself to
Mm.
seasoned actors, professionals. And it was such a large gap that somebody told me finally that, Tina, maybe you're comparing yourself to people who are not relevant in terms of your growth process, in terms of the average of everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, people can see the courage of you actually doing it, so it doesn't even matter because most people won't even do it in the first place. And I thought, oh, this is great. That's good information to know. Yeah,
Wow.
so that was my first experience of being on camera really,
Mhm.
is being crapped on multiple times. And paying somebody to crap on me, and then losing
Oof.
confidence, and then finally peers saying, actually, you're not that bad.
This is
So
okay.
yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
rewarding feeling, man. Like just grinding it out, and someone says, "Hey, this is really good," and you're like, "The amount of pain I went through for this." Yes, like all just vanishes. And that's what I'm really
Right.
curious because we again, you had to build yours up. I had to build my confidence up as well. People often ask, and I've seen this question pop around sometimes, is how do I become confident? How do I get better on camera? How do I speak better? Like, how does someone build that foundation to become a confident and almost influential individual?
Okay, I talk about this on my YouTube channel on confidence that's task oriented versus an individual mindset oriented, which is, I'll give you an example of recently I got into an acting class and I had to meet with the head acting coach. And I said to him, because I never took a scene study class before, and I said, look, I'm not very confident in doing scene study work. And he laughed at me and he said, well, of course you're not. You've never done it before. How could you be confident in doing it if you've never even done it before? And I thought, wow, what a profound thing to say. Of course, I'm not going to be confident in this specific task because I don't have enough experience, or rather, I had no experience at it. So why would I be confident in it? It's kind of arrogant to think that you would be confident. But then there's also the confidence in yourself, because I obviously had confidence in myself to say, okay, I don't know it and I don't have confidence in this specific task. However, I'm confident that I can learn. I'm
Mm.
confident that I will come here every single week and I will do my absolute best. Even if it's horrible, I will do my absolute best. Right. So I think there's two different types of confidence, which is task oriented and also being confident in yourself and
Mhm.
your ability to learn and grow and be more than who you are today. And those are two different things. And so just keeping that in mind when you're walking into a new situation, don't expect to be confident in the task, but just confident that you can learn and you can grow and you can be better.
Mhm. So finding that baseline and also not comparing yourself to someone who is already there, being like, "Oh, I'm not there
Right.
yet," because you don't see all that work they put in to get there.
Right. Of course you're not there yet. It's so arrogant to think you would be. It's so arrogant to think that, oh, I want to be a basketball player without doing all the reps and the drills and all the practice that they have to do. But I just
Exactly.
wanted to be talented. Even the most talented people, they have to work really hard to be where they are. So yeah, it's yeah, just got
Hard
to get
hard
rid of that. And
work.
I will say,
Mhm.
mhm,
Go ahead.
no, hard work.
Hard work trumps all, literally. Like talent
Yeah,
can just go, but if someone works harder, they'll always just go over you.
100%. So I had this client who was very afraid to be on camera, and he wanted to produce content out there and YouTube and all of that. And when I was coaching him, I remember him. He would he would do a video and then he would post it and then he would delete it. And then he would post it and then he would delete it.
Oh
And
no.
then I asked him, why are you doing, why are you posting and why are you deleting?
Yeah.
And then he would say, well, it's easy for you, Tina, because when you post something, at least you'll get one view. And for me, I'm getting zero.
Mm.
And I thought, well, okay, great. That's great. because that means that nobody's judging you. That means that you're judging yourself. If you're getting 0 views, you can't blame it on somebody else judging you. You're only judging yourself. And on top of that, I'm like, do you realize that I got 0 views for months and months, not just one content or one video or one day? And it wasn't until I forced my mom to watch it and I
Forced views to see your content.
to watch.
Oh
Yes,
my
I
God.
forced people to watch it.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't comment because they didn't really care. And a lot of them pretended they watched it, but they didn't actually watch it. Right. So it's kind of like, well, yes. And you have to expect that you will suck. You have to expect that you will do things badly and terribly. And that's what you should be. Because if you don't do that, then that means you're probably not stretching your comfort zone and you're probably not doing more. So for me, even my YouTube videos, they're not always perfect. They're not at all, right? But for me, the one thing I wanted to do is be consistent and doing it anyway. Even though it's not a perfect edit, even though the lighting isn't good, even though I might have made mistakes in the way I speak. And now I'm starting to get not hate comments, but I'm starting to get comments that are nitpicking certain things, right? And I do still have a foreign tongue, so to speak. So sometimes I wouldn't say it in perfect American English. And I would say a little bit differently. I would have a little nuance here and there. And people are quick to point that out. But I am so happy that I started from 0 views, because to me, wow, somebody's watching it and critiquing me. And before I had no views and nobody even cared at all. They didn't even want to critique me. They didn't
Here I
even care.
am with 5 views now. It's like, gotcha.
Yes, and it's so great because now I have the confidence in saying, well, it doesn't matter. I expect myself to make mistakes. So it doesn't matter. I should be making mistakes. And that's my mentality, is that, oh, good. Like, if I need to make mistakes.
I messed
and
up good,
they did a research, apparently. And I can't, if somebody asks, like, okay, where does this research come from? It was from Tom Bilyeu's. Yeah, it's there. So it was an interview on Tom Bilyeu. Tom Bilyeu did. And he was discussing a research that said that successful people, when they interviewed them and they listed out, they took a poll in which how many times did they fail, major fails in life. The people who were of average income or of average titles or just like the average lifestyle, they had usually 1 or 2 major failures in their life. And the successful people, and mostly defined by income level, they on average had at least 8 to 10 major life failures.
Wow.
Yeah. And so what the conclusion was drawn is that it's because, and of course this is just taking away from it, it's because a lot of the people, they have one thing that happened and they just thought, never again am I going to try, never again am I going to take this risk. And maybe there's a good reasoning for that, but the people who hit it big are the people who just keep trying and trying. And I mean, you would think after 2, that hurts. 3, 4, 6, 7. I mean, my goodness, now it's a pattern. And my goodness, your family members probably looking at you like, how many failures is it going to take?
Am I a failure? Like, you start getting in your head and all that fun stuff too.
Right. But it was very comforting to see that, because then it allowed permission for anybody who wants to do anything big in their lives, that, oh, wait, you're supposed to fail. And actually, that's the right formula to think about, is how many times you have failed. And then you think to yourself, wait, I haven't failed enough. I need something that's major that fails me. Yes, I thought that was very interesting.